movie directors are doing is, I like to use a simple metaphor.
Yes.
It's like cooking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you cook a good soup, or you make a pizza or pasta, you know, okay, for a good pasta, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need some elements for producing a good pasta. And then you know, well, my mother always did it this and that way. Okay, you can do it that way. But you think, why not changing it a little bit and giving a little bit more pepper? Maybe you even add some chili. And what's arrabbiata? You think about it. How to compensate that arrabbiata thing, maybe a little bit honey. So it's up to you to enlarge the elements and to combine them. Mm-hmm. And this is what we do. Yes. An artist is not producing something like a creatio ex nihilo. Mm-hmm. He knows, usually artists know tradition best. They look at, in our case we consider, they look at the history of cinema, and if you start talking to a director, he will overflow you with very interesting information you never was aware of, and say, oh, he's really an expert. He can tell you, well, and that in that scene, the camera comes up with, the director comes up with a cut, and the camera suddenly is on a high angle, and right, he or she describes what you never realized, though you analyzed the movie. So they are experts. They know how a good movie works and what they have to combine, how they have to combine the elements. For having a good story, well, you need a kind of plot. How do I get the masses? Mm-hmm. Well, maybe a comedy. Wow, a comedy about apocalypse. That can be a very dangerous undertaking. It's but then you have a good script. You have good actors. Give them their freedom, and they add to your script something you didn't expect. So this is what they do. It's not completely new. The new is always sometimes only a small variation of what there already is. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to enjoy it. We are human beings. We do have our history. We know some stories, narratives, movies, and then we see a new one, and we give the new movie, so to speak, a place in our system of belief.
Yes.
To use a philosophical term, everybody of us has his, her, their system of belief, and there you find a place for the new, and you connect it to what there already is, and that depends, of course, on your system. That means on your experiences and what you have read, convictions. But this is what, on a very simple level, I would say this is what's going on. It makes it very plausible why movies do have success and why they don't have success. If there's no connection to the systems of belief of the audience, bad luck for you.
Yes. And you mentioned the biblical myth of Noah. Yeah. And it has been made into a film by Darren Aronofsky also.
Was it Russell?
Russell Crowe, yes.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's not the best movie.
Not the best movie, but it's interesting that the theme of the flood becomes once again very present because of climate change and sea levels rising. And also I'm very kind of perplexed also about what we call the culture industry, like Adorno, Horkheimer, the Frankfurt School. They had, of course, an analysis, a critique of the cultural industry. And it seems to me that like the Hollywood system of film production is increasingly making profits, selling tickets for the apocalypse, let's say like that. We have all sorts of disaster films like Mad Max, Don't Look Up, Godzilla, Hunger Games, and we see that these films, they really sell a lot of tickets. So how do we explain that like the masses are hungry or thirsty for some sort of dystopia that they are consuming? In other terms, the fact that dystopia sells tickets, and you can have a major company in the US that makes a calculation. I can make an investment of $200 million in an absolutely horrifying disaster movie because I'm gonna get $1 billion in revenue.
Yeah.
So how do you explain these effects, you know? Is it really like cinema is a reflection of the anxieties, and then people go to the cinema to elaborate their anxieties about what's coming, about disaster? Or is there another explanation for why the culture industry makes profits with disaster films? Or like in the history of Netflix, Don't Look Up is one of the most seen films ever in the streaming platform. So it's kind of perplexing for me, this thing. Because the common sense thing to think is the culture industry is going to sell us hope. They're going to sell us the happy end. They're going to be like optimistic about what's to come and the future of capitalism and techno-fix, geoengineering. But it doesn't seem to be working like that. The culture industry is actually selling tickets for the apocalypse that the system is producing itself. It seems like a very strange phenomenon.
Yeah, it seems paradoxical. And indeed, we might say, yeah, it is paradoxical. And as a philosopher, I would add, well, I've nothing against paradoxes. It's, on the contrary, it seems, I mean, theologians were aware of that all the time. As soon as we start talking or thinking about something that really matters and doesn't give us enough scientific explanation, we call that God. We are stuck with paradoxes.
Yes.
Now, I don't want to say culture industry is on the same level like God. Just as a short reminder that paradoxes do have a useful function. They play an important role in our cognitive universe. As to your concrete example, I indeed would say, yeah, it might be true that there is a company in Hollywood or somewhere else who invests $200 million because they know we might come up with 300 or 400 as profit, because the story seems to be good. It's a satire about us, an apocalyptic satire, funny, but also serious. It's a serious problem, but you present it in a way that you say it's absurd. We are all, not all, but 97 or 8% of us are really stupid. They don't look up. Very simple, right?
Yes.
So I would say, well, if that company earns $200 million by their investment, so be it. Can have it. For me, it's important what the cultural product, the effect of the cultural product. That's important. I would be, well, probably it's not again, yeah, like we started. It's not a yes or no. It's not a good or bad. Most films do have a grading, let's say, yeah, we can say, seen from that perspective, this is very well done. From another perspective, they missed it. A third perspective, I'm not quite sure. So you look at something from several angles, and those angles differ, and so you say, in the end, my final judgment is this and that. But it's very rare that you say, this is absolute nonsense, absolute manipulation shit. This is Hollywood shit. It only wants to make those masses more stupid than they already are. Yeah? There are such movies. I do not doubt. There are such movies. It's incredible what, I mean, once you start on Netflix to watch movies, you never was aware that they exist.
Yes.
Then you see, oh my God, what's going on here? But this is not our problem. Our problem, as sociologists, I would say, focus on those movies that are successful. So the movies you were naming. And then ask yourself, why are they successful? And what is maybe their hidden message? So what you are doing, say, okay, there is maybe a simple message in a certain movie, but the closer you look, I repeat myself, the more you see, there are elements that are tricky, like a sting. Yeah? And those stings are mostly the interesting parts of the movie, because they don't leave you. You go home and say, oh, what did you see? Oh, yeah, some apocalyptic movie. I don't know. But there was a scene that was really special. That means you are not able to explain it. And that scene will stay in your mind and will, how should I say, will go on cooking your own soup. Right? So if I give you a theoretical relation, I would say the Birmingham cultural studies in the 1960s and 70s, they were the first where we could learn that those products that seem to be so, as the term culture industry tells us, I mean, it's a chiasm, right? Culture and industry, that doesn't go together. Oh, it goes together, says Adorno and Horkheimer. It's that kind of culture that is produced in an industrialized way. Movies, pop songs. And what is the aim of that pop songs? Profit and manipulation. Okay. But the cultural studies people told us, you can turn such strong manipulative messages into an own code. And the best example were at that time, it was already 1970s, right? Yeah, 1970s, when the punk generation came up, using Nazi symbols, but turning the symbols around. It's me with my leather jacket. I'm an outsider. I'm the one you spit out from society. Here I am. I'm your Nazi, and you stand there in London, and say, look, turn it around, give it an own meaning. This is something that is very important. What I want to say is it's not that easy that you can say this product, this movie is clearly manipulative. It's made for the interests of capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop. It depends on you.
Yes.
What you make of that.
And it's also very complex when you deal with artists like Stanley Kubrick or Christopher Nolan, that they make films with a lot of corporate money from the culture industry. But when you watch it, you also feel there's a great creator, there's a great mind operating there. So when I've read your writings about, for instance, 2001, A Space Odyssey, it's very interesting. In a part of the text, you mentioned that in the end of the movie there's a Stargate, and it leads the astronaut to like the period of Louis XVI.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned during the French Revolution, you have the Enlightenment and the guillotine, this ambiguity, this paradox. And I've watched the film recently here in the Eye, 2001, and it seems to be so alive also because of artificial intelligence. You know, you have a spaceship, and you have that Hall computer who does mainly all the complex functions of that mission. And so you have some utopian elements. You have the idea that humans are gonna program the robots, the computers, and they are gonna do, like they are gonna pilot the spaceships, the cars, they are gonna do the surgeries. You know, a human doctor won't need to do surgery because we have a robot that does it really well. So there's an utopian portrayal of a future where AI is going to help us out in difficult missions. But at the same time, dystopia is there because HAL tries basically to wipe out the human crew there. And also this machine seems to have some sort of conatus, you know. The machine is conscious and it doesn't want to be turned off. It's like, don't kill me, I won't let you kill me. I won't let you turn off the machinery. So this entanglement, this mixture of utopia and dystopia seems to be an element in this recipe you mentioned. Like to cook a great sci-fi film, perhaps you need these elements of like utopia and dystopia intermingled, like the promise and the threat. Does it make sense to say that a great artist in science fiction, he deals with the promises and threats? Like AI, of course, it has a lot of interesting benefits that makes our lives easier, cognitive powers that our brains don't have and these machines have, and we can make an alliance and, you know. But in a sense, they almost frighten us with like the fact that humans are being surpassed, are being overcome, in a sense that I think Nietzsche didn't foresee, you know. The Zarathustra vision of the overcoming of man didn't include cyborgs and robots with AI, you know. But I was thinking a lot about the 2001 and how Kubrick makes a sci-fi masterpiece that you can't define if it's utopia or dystopia, perhaps because it's the wrong perspective to say either this or that. It's not utopia or dystopia. It's a mixture, an entanglement.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Again, Kubrick refers to a classical narrative, Odyssey.
Yes.
So we do have that famous story by Homer that Odysseus tries to come home after the war in Troy, and is it 10 years or longer? I mean, the war already takes 10 years, and then he himself needs another 10 years or 20. So he almost imagine for 30 years you are away from your home, from your wife. And Homer tells us a story where the hero finally indeed succeeds. He comes home. He kills those persons who want to take possession of his house, of his wife, etc. Kubrick refers to that Odyssey, telling us this is a long, long way to come home. To come home, question mark. In the end of the movie is really open. It's a wonderful poetical balance. The only thing we have, once we are asked, well, what is beyond Jupiter? Yeah, we don't know. We still don't know as astrophysicists. So you find as a director, you find surreal, imaginative pictures with your camera, associations in a wild, but not only wild, there's a certain structure in it, and in the end you come back to an image that you already shown in the beginning of the movie. You see the fetus again. You see that fetus with Nietzsche dancing like a planet, dancing like a star in the universe. That's a wonderful poetic image that leaves us, I would say, with a kind of, at least the movie doesn't leave us or send us home with despair. It's a catastrophe. No, we do not know. We see the dream. We see the utopian dream. We see ourselves as fragile beings. I mean, a fetus. And you take a classical music piece of Strauss and a Zarathustra melody and find a touching, maybe this is it, it's a touching picture. Yes. It touches you. Whatever you make of it, but it doesn't destroy you, it touches you.
Yes.
And again, utopia, dystopia, difficult to say.
And it's also perplexing for me, like when you watch 2001, the film is 2 hours and a half. But actually, when you wrote about that, you mentioned that famous jump cut when the ape discovers that the bone can be a weapon, and then the bone becomes the spaceship. So during 2 hours of screening, you go from prehistory or pre-humanity to like futurology of like, so you have a time frame that's very impressive, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been thinking a lot about that because of the concept of the Anthropocene. Of course, it's a very controversial concept, but I think it gets our minds in a cognitive perspective of expanded time frame. Like it's the time frame of geology, of the earth, when we are used to like a short-term perspective, especially because like we are in consumer capitalist societies, and I think we have been educated, we have been conditioned to think in short term, and then it comes this concept that makes you think about the history of the planet inside the cosmos. And actually it says that during the last 2 centuries, human activities of like nature, mining and exploration and emissions have so radically transformed the planet that we have become a geological force. And I'm wondering, in the thesis I'm trying to write, if there is a connection of this upsurge in dystopia. You mentioned like from the 50s onwards, it seems that sci-fi gets more dystopic. You have this Mad Max upsurge, and it's exactly the same period that sociologists call the Great Acceleration, when you have all those graphs of the human population is exploding, emission of CO2 is exploding, extraction of minerals is exploding, and loss of biodiversity, what we call the 6 max extinction, is also exploding. So, of course, I see that Anthropocene is a very controversial concept. Many people think, no, it is wrong to put the blame on the whole of the humankind, when actually capitalism is to blame or extractivism is to blame. I know these critiques. I've heard the people who say, no, let's call it Capitalocene or something like that. But I don't feel I can just get the concept of the Anthropocene and throw in a garbage can, because it is so present in the sciences and human sciences also, that I'm perplexed by it, how this concept became so widespread. And I wanted to hear about this idea of a grand narrative. Should we consider the Anthropocene as this grand narrative? And what's the critique that should be made in a postmodern perspective of this grand narrative? Because it seems to me that the Anthropocene and this cinematic, dystopic sci-fi may have these entanglements also, Jennifer Face is thinking a lot about that, but also Donna Haraway and Bruno Latour. What do you think about this Anthropocene narrative, and is really cinema part and parcel of the Anthropocene?
Why do we have art? I'm coming back to that definition I gave in the beginning, because we are that kind of animal that needs symbols, Ernst Cassirer would say we are the animal symbolicum. We need symbols, pictures, moving pictures, music, the flow of words in narratives. This is what we need. I mean, I like to say about the Anthropocene idea that though Horkheimer and Adorno never mentioned that word or term, like how could they? But in a certain way, you have a philosophical analysis of the Anthropocene in the dialectic of enlightenment. When you say, well, is it the anthropos? Is it man, human being, that is responsible for what happened? Horkheimer and Adorno would say Well, in a certain say, it is. And why is that so? Because man is, as Aristotle told us, an animal rationale. So we are those animals who learned to develop what we call reason. And that reason became our, Nietzsche again, became our best weapon. Mm-hmm. We knew how to react towards nature, animals, because we learned to see logical structures, things that repeated. We knew after some time and generations that the tiger always moves in that way, and that he is afraid of fire, for example. If you have fire, don't have to be afraid of wolves. It is something we learned, right? So the answer for Horkheimer Adorno is we developed, Anthropos developed his rationality, and developing that rationality had to pay a price, namely that rationality became more and more one-dimensional, forgetting more and more the sensuous, imaginative parts of reason, mm-hmm. So that in the end the Anthropocene had that catastrophic development that seems to lead into an apocalypse, because we, for several reasons, some are necessary but others not, so we focused on our main weapon, rationality, in a one-dimensional way. Mm-hmm. We forgot the many aspects of reason, and always were on logics.
Mm-hmm. Marcuse also talks about the one-dimensional human, right?
This is the background of why I use this word, the one-dimensional mm-hmm. man. And the theory Horkheimer and Adorno give in their dialectic of Enlightenment book is to my mind, is this. So in a certain way, if you redescribe what Anthropocene means in such a way, you could say, it makes sense to do so. Mm-hmm. You are referring to very diverse theorists, right? Mm-hmm.
But then would you say like the reason on the center, what we should call like logocentrism, is at the core of the procedures that led us to the Anthropocene? Let's say that human reason and of course technological progress led us to this transformation of the planet that we see, and now art is reflecting upon it because we have a will to signify that. Let's say Nietzsche said we are will to power, but you are saying we are also a will of meaning. We are thirsty, we are hungry for meaning.
Well, maybe it's really true what we, again, could learn from Hegel, that in difference to religion and to science, art is that form of human self-understanding which is the most open for diverse forms of reason and open for experiment, for new answers to the questions: who are we? What are we doing? Of course, science gives us an answer. A physicist gives us an answer. Evolutionary biologists, they all, cultural anthropologists, they give us answers who we are, the human space, the human species, the human species. Who are we? We can ask scientists, natural scientists, humanities. We can ask diverse religions. We can ask Taoism, Buddhism. We can ask the Jewish religion. We can ask the Christian religion. We can ask the Muslim religion. You will get answers that are mostly based on a, let's say, in science, it's the rationality that is focused on proving. And then there are diverse ways of proving. Whatever you can prove, whatever finds the assent of your colleagues, is a strong indication it must be true. This thesis must be true. In science, it's not about truth. It's about having confidence in basic dogmas, be it the Old Testament for the Jews, the New Testament for the Catholics, for the Quran in Muslim, etc. So we believe in that, and these stories help us to understand what is going on in the year 2024. Art does not refer to a dogma. Artists don't have such a original text where we all refer to, and art they cannot focus on proof and conviction by argument as well. Let's see. So what are they doing? Well, they are working with their own ways of reason, bringing in a lot of imagination and sensuousness. So imagination, sensuousness, including affectivity, cognitive elements, right? A novel is working with words. Music isn't. Nevertheless, we could say even music, a symphony, tells us something. Whatever. I just want to say what interests you and me most, namely art, has a specific way of dealing with reason. And that specific way is a way that, coming back to the Anthropocene of Horkheimer and Adorno, that remembers that art is much wider than the reason that is needed in science, and science lent. The reason wants structure, repetition, the same, leading to science, leading to technology. And then finally, late comes an economic system called capitalism, which merges with technology and makes a very productive, maybe again, entanglement of those two spheres. Technology, science, plus economy, capitalism. And art, from an outsider perspective, looks at it and says, well, maybe religion, it depends on the religion, forgets as well the sensuous part, at least the Catholic one and the Protestant one. The Buddhist tradition is more open for that. So you can't say every religion. I'm not sure, but what is pretty sure is that art is remembering us to a wider concept of reasoning, and that makes it so interesting.
Yes.
Reason is more than logics. Reason is more than finding original dogmas. It's important, but there is more. And I think that makes art. Why do we need art? Why did we develop something called art? There must be a reason.
Yes.
You hear me? There must be a reason.
Must be a reason.
So That's the typical way we human beings are. I want to have a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
We're running out of time.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
You've been writing a lot about emotions and affections.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear a little bit about the affection of fear.
Mm.
For Spinoza, is a sad
Yeah.
affect that gets our potency downwards. But we have some philosophers like interenders that are saying we have to be courageous or bold enough to be afraid. And it seems to me many works of art in dystopia, they are terrifying. They portray like a worst case scenario, and you get really afraid, wow, will I have to live in such a wasteland? But I wonder if this emotion that a dystopia causes in you can, instead of paralyze you, they can mobilize you to act in order for this dystopic scenario not to happen. So this is a theme I'm writing about, because it seems, for instance, the example of George Orwell's 1984, it was not meant to be a manual of instructions for the building of a totalitarian regime, but it was like an alarm call written in the 40s, an alarm call, this is a possible future, try to avert that. So I'm causing you fear, but it's in order for you to move in another path. Does that make sense, that art also can cause an emotion that will lead you to change your path? So fear is not that terrible a thing, and through fearing fictions you can also act on objective reality, or something like that. That's a huge question, but I'm also perplexed by that.
Yeah. Well, in principle, I would say aesthetic phenomena and aesthetic experiences are never emotional in an immediate sense. That means it makes a difference whether you are standing outside on the street and a pit bull terrier is attacking you, right? You know that dog can kill you. It's a pit bull. It's an XL pit bull. They know in Great Britain why they have forbidden that kind of species. So your direct experience outside the street, in the world. Now imagine the same scene in a movie. So you see the girl you like because she's so sympathetic, goes to school every day singing her song, and one day she meets that pit bull, and you know that dog will attack her, and maybe the director shows you how that pit bull really kills him. So you now imagine people who are afraid of dogs in principle because they had bad experiences. It's easy to imagine that those people leaving the movie theater will be trembling a little bit, will have a problem. Should they see a dog outside, I'm pretty sure they will change the street. So this can happen, no doubt. The famous, what was it? The white. What is it? A Steven Spielberg movie from the 1970s. The huge, so-called, what is it? A fish, you know?
The Jaws film.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jaw. The white. In Germany was white. The white jaw.
It's a shark, right?
Yeah. And people
terrifying shark
were sitting there in the movie and crying and they really were afraid, as if that shark would open its mouth and really, right? Movies think of the original scene of what was it, Lumiere brothers, that they just were filming a locomotive, a train, and the train is going towards, and the public wasn't used to it, and so they thought, I'm confronted. No, come on, it's as if it's on the screen. You have to learn that. What a lot of movies again and again try to do is to jump about that gap between the screen and the audience sitting there in the theater. They want you to feel afraid, which is an art in itself. How do you do that? Though you know that this is only a screen and everything. It's not a theater. It's not a stage where you could say, well, one of the actors on stage really could take a pistol and shoot in the audience. No, if that happens on screen, I don't move. I know it's a screen, right? So, indeed, movies are interested in an explosion of emotions because they know we are the world of the spectator and the world of the actors is ontologically completely split. There is no bridge between the one world and the other, isn't? So the more interesting becomes to construct a bridge. And how do they do that? Often by constructing emotions. So one dimension of the art of cinema is exactly this. Rousing emotions, like music. And music is, I would say, next to music, it's really movies that are able to rouse emotions much more than a novel, much more than a painting, much more than an opera. Though I know people who would say, no, the opera, it doesn't matter.
We should call them emotion pictures.
Yeah. I guess somebody did. I've heard that.
You wrote about this expression, emotion picture, because we say the motion, of course, the kinesis is essential to cinema, but emotion also that it arouses is essential. And of course, dystopic sci-fi arouses emotions that are deemed to be negative. But I'm thinking about how they can get you active also, So that's a very interesting thing. How through fear of what's to come, you can change your path right now and become, for instance, an activist. Like here in the Netherlands, you have Extinction Rebellion, and they use the imagery of, wow, the threat of extinction, but let's move for that not to happen. So not all fear leads to a paralyzing effect. Some fears through fiction can get you in a way feeling the urgency to act, to move, to change, So this is an interesting element for me.
It is, but again, I'm not sure whether there is a one-dimensional connection. Anthropologists or biologists would say we do have fear if we feel threatened. The dog is dangerous. The snake, the rattlesnake is really dangerous. So if I see a rattlesnake here, I get immediately fear. And now comes 3 possibilities. I freeze, I fight, or I flee. Flight.
Freeze, fight, or flee.
Exactly. So if you get afraid, if you have fear, and you have to add, because what you fear is dangerous, it threatens you. You have at least At least those three possibilities. You may freeze.
Yes.
I can't do anything. I'm down. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
If you are very young, might happen. It might also be that you say, I don't want to hear of those. I leave the room. I don't want to see such movies any longer. Leave me alone. I flood.
Yes.
Or you fight. You say, wow, this is really dangerous. I have to do something. Right? It's fight, flight, or freeze.
Ah, that's very good. Sounds very poetic also. Like fear can get you to freeze, to fight, or to flee.
If fear is something, fear is the emotional reaction towards something that threatens you. If fear is caused by something else, though I do not know what that would be. So I personally would say yes, fear is threatening. And threatening allows you 1, 2, 3.
Yes. And it's very complex when you think about fiction causing fear, because it's an intentional fear that the artist, please feel this fear.
Yes.
And you might consider why this intention of causing you fear.
Yeah. So the one of the really very interesting constitutive elements of movies is that ontological gap.
Yes.
You don't have that in any other art form.
Yes.
Such a hard ontological gap. I mean, Stanley Cavell has put that forward, and therefore people who, if we think about the effects of movies, we always have to be aware, well, it's the effect that comes from something that is beyond my world of acting.
Yes.
I cannot intervene, and they cannot intervene here. I mean, there are some movies who play with that, Purple Rose of Cairo, Schwarzenegger. So we change the ontological spheres, but that's a fiction, right? And that's interesting how I do it. But I come back to this because this is the biggest challenge for a director. To reach you, because the director knows what I'm doing is taking place in a completely different world than the world of my audience. How do I get my audience? And then you say, camera, music, tone, moving, certain tricks like just show someone in the night in his bed, the windows open and the curtain is moving a little bit. That's dangerous. The alien is already here. You know there are certain patterns again, and we know. This is dangerous. And if the music, background music is so. With violins are getting louder. This is how you get them. You must get the audience.
Yes.
It's really, you must be a professional. This is something you have to learn.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for your time. Sorry if I kept you for too much, but it was really awesome.
I will get my point.
Yes, it was really, really awesome.